So let's now talk about Night of Champions 2011. 2 matches announced. A few weeks ago we spoke about one and guessed it right. Of course the other one has not been officially announced yet. But let's go through some speculation about who's going to win as we get closer now to that Night of Champions pay-per-view, which of course is upcoming in a few weeks' time. Of course, shockingly, last Monday night we had that major announcement that actually trended on Twitter. It was in the top 10 worldwide trends. I saw people going, "What is Triple H v CM Punk?" That's what it was in the corner. And there was hundreds going, "What's that about?"
That is amazing.
But that's happening. It's official now. It wasn't Triple H, if you like, being a manager or enforcer for Kevin Nash v Punk. It went that direction that I think people did know but were swerved away from.
Yeah, from what I understand, I think it was a case of Nash not being cleared by the doctors led to Trips having to, or at least the office having to go to a plan B, which was Trips and Punk, which no doubt would have probably happened sooner rather than later in some capacity, but because of Nash's faults or whatever the hell is wrong with him, the doctors aren't going to let him into the ring. You know, is it a kayfabe story? Possibly. Are we being worked to death? Possibly. Is it legit? Possibly, who knows. But the case is Triple H, CM Punk, one-on-one, Night of Champions. Are you excited?
I'm somewhat excited. It feels like a fresh match.
I think it'll be fun, yeah.
I looked on YouTube and I found other matches with them. So they did sort of do this before, but it's been long enough that I've forgotten about this particular pairing. So I think with Triple H in there, I would love to see Triple H job like crazy here. I mean, put this guy Punk over. He is the guy who's most recognised by wrestling fans who are watching. He's the one they're talking about. They're talking about Triple H as well, but that's purely because he's put himself in that position. He's given himself, if you like, an important role that, well, it means we have to talk about him whether we like him or not. But competitively, these two in a match together, of course, Triple H, such a workhorse, he can sort of match styles with many different people. And with someone like Punk, I think, if you like, running rings around him, it could end up to be quite an interesting pairing. Of course, has it been said that Nash will be anyway involved here? I mean, I haven't seen him.
I don't know if it's been officially said, but I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll be like your favourite, unlike Sonic, special guest enforcer for the evening. I'm sure Nash will take that responsibility on some way. He has to, doesn't he?
He's going to have to.
Yeah, he will. He will do.
It's funny what you say there about he had some trouble with doctors clearing him, and I mean, it's no surprise to me because you know, we spoke about TNA in the last video, but when Nash was in TNA, they didn't hide the fact that he had niggling injuries, and that when he walked to the ring, he did kind of, you know, he found it tricky to get around. You could see his leg was not in the best of shapes, but up until now they've done very well to shield Nash. We haven't really seen him from the bottom down. We've seen him jumping over barriers, running through crowds, so it does look like, in a sense, we're being worked that he's fully able to compete. But of course, when it comes down to match time, that's when you decide, are you a Hogan, or, you know, are you an Edge, who I hear is coming back. I don't know whether to wrestle, probably not, but you know, there is that time when a guy finally has to give it up, and to be honest, I think Nash's time came a while back.
It did, yeah. He's like a, I don't know, stale. He's just a bit stale. I think Punk and Trips could have a seriously good match. If you think about Trips, he's probably going to want to outshine what Cena's done, known Trips, and steal that 5-star match that Punk and Cena had at Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank? Money in the Bank. At Money in the Bank. Not only that, I think with the position he's in as COO and the position Punk is in as, I suppose, the biggest thing since sliced bread, you know, it's going to ride itself really. Could, on the other hand, for those reasons alone, fall short with too much high expectation on, you know, the legacy of both really.
Yeah, there's a legacy where Triple H really has to hold up his side of the bargain. He, of course, has not been seen wrestling maybe since that match with Sheamus back at WrestleMania. Has he actually wrestled? Has he come out in the Triple H gear? Not that I'm aware of. I think he's been fairly dark until that suit made its first appearance. And I think maybe week on week now he has to get himself a new suit. It would be annoying, you know, if I was Cole, 365 suits at a minimum.
That's a lot. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed Triple H matches, and Triple H v Umaga, I remember back something like that, where Triple H can he can battle with a guy and not dominate in terms of size. In other words, not making CM Punk look like a runt. I mean, that's also a problem when you have a big guy like that thrown in with a guy who's admittedly getting bigger. I think Punk has certainly hit the weights in the past couple of years at least. So Punk Triple H, what's the whole point of this at Night of Champions 2011? Presumably to kind of have a main event match in a sense that doesn't involve a belt and that perhaps is more storyline based. Who's going to come out on top? I suppose it's time to make that prediction. I would like to say that Punk will win as a result of Kevin Nash interference.
That's a good call. That's a very good call. This is a tough one for me. I'm going to say Trips. I think Trips is going to go over and CM Punk gets screwed by the Office. Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis, whatever you want to call him, gets involved somehow with a new acquisition. I don't know, but I think Punk's going to get screwed out of it by Trips.
Yeah, it's very possible that that's exactly how they will go. In our live chat room here on Justin.tv, we've got comments relating to that exact point. SP103 says, the point is to get CM Punk face. I think they'll slowly turn Cena heel for WrestleMania. Cena can feud back with a face CM Punk. Turning Cena heel for WrestleMania, it sounds like a dream come true, but on that point, and I think it's very accurate what you say there about Punk heading towards the face thing, you know, in regards to Cena v Punk, they did have Cena v Michaels at Mania, as in face v face, so you know, they could do that. They certainly could do that without turning Cena heel, which of course I think we've all lost hope of happening, really. Yeah,
I don't know if you'll see a full Cena heel turn, but yeah, under those circumstances maybe.
We'll have to wait till TNA for the Cena heel turn. when Cena hits TNA,
when he messes up.
Can you imagine if TNA got Cena? And just suddenly had him on TV. You know, maybe they should be aiming for people like that. Obviously Cena is a no-go, but who's been a top babyface in the past that isn't signed into a lockdown WWE contract? Probably not too many. I mean, Michaels is not even working for them in a sense, and I'm sure he gets a pay packet every week still, just to keep him sweet and to keep him away from them. But as I say, Triple H v Punk, it was trending on Twitter last Monday night, and it was in the top 10 worldwide. But it was just funny to see people asking, "What the hell is that?" You know, because you see those random,
just letters, yeah.
You see those trends, and you're like, "What is that?" But somebody at least was talking about this. Now, was it all those people asking what this is that made it trend? Who knows? But it shows you that Raw has an audience that can get a top 10 trending topic. Now that's something also that people who maybe aren't the biggest of fans would get. You know, this is something that people do talk about, and indeed we talk quite a lot about it. SP says if Cena went to TNA, his 5 moves of doom would decrease to 2.
That's funny.
And also Zombies says TNA or WWE 91. 91 Kazan says TNA needs Goldberg. And Zombies, I can imagine a guy who watched WWF or WCW flicking over to modern day Raw and just yelling, well, some expletive, but not being too happy. You know? Well, we're in that camp really, aren't we? We watched WWF or WCW, but we came back, if you like, and started watching it again, because we've talked about what kind of I suppose, attracted us back. But for me personally, it was that big show that had the real music bands. It was more.
I thought you meant the Big Show.
Right, it wasn't the Big Show, no.
Yikes.
It wouldn't have been him, but yeah, definitely it's interesting. Punk v HHH. Punk wins. What about yourself? Sorry if you break it early.
I'm going to say Trips goes over Screwjob. Screwjob deal, Johnny Ace.
Yeah. Johnny Ace, not to forget that he could be involved there. Now, John Cena is going to take on Alberto Del Rio. Thank God Del Rio is in that bracket now. He's safe from being buried somewhere in the mid-card like Orton. Orton is taking on somebody, and he is the world champion, but he's still somewhat down there in the pecking order, and even if I think he was on Raw now, he'd still be in that position. I mean, Punk and Miz are fresh new heels, fresh people for the company to push. Orton's been pushed like crazy now for 4 years, but not to talk too much about Orton, it's Cena, Del Rio, and as I said a while back, Del Rio settled into the Orton spot, and now we have Del Rio v Cena. Now these two, Del Rio's better than Cena, but in terms of wrestling mat skills, these two one-on-one, it seems a bit of a strange match to me.
It will be strange. There's nothing really exciting about this, and there's nothing really
groundbreaking.
Yeah, there's nothing to go on. There's no real. It's just about the belt, I suppose. You know, they haven't had enough one-on-one interaction really to sustain a kind of a serious feud. Going forward, maybe if you know it is to be the case, but I don't have any interest in this one whatsoever. I'm going to go with Alberto Del Rio retaining the title, and Cena jobbing to Del Rio.
The dream scenario. Has Del Rio been sort of now... Well, I would say that smart marks were into Del Rio because he was that heel that was making his way up the card, and we traditionally, I think, support the heel characters. Maybe in that older demographic that was always the case, but in a sense now they've kind of homogenized Del Rio. They've fired him into that Cena bracket, and we know he's going to be there for a while. Not to say I'm not happy he's there, but it all gets a bit boring when it gets to main event territory. You know Cena is going to be the eventual victor. You know Del Rio might get over him once, he might get over him twice, but in the end Cena will be the man on top. So I kind of prefer Del Rio on that build, in the mid-card, working away and getting into feuds, walking up to guys like the Big Show and slapping him in the face. I mean, these were the moments that had me marked for Del Rio in the first place. So hopefully if he is put in there, like you say, kick the head off Cena, go over, you know, keep beating him. That's what we want to see ultimately. Del Rio being the guy who is on top in this situation. Now SP said he had visa issues trying to travel overseas and Puerto Rico. Was that Del Rio?
Yeah, so you didn't have him on any of the shows this week because of the visa situation.
I had heard it was actually the Storms. Wasn't that, was it?
Oh, maybe it was. I'm not sure.
I could be wrong, yeah.
But he wasn't on TV. But I'll tell you what, they have a golden ticket there with Ricardo, for sure. He was very, very entertaining, I have to say, and tying things over with Del Rio's lack of presence. He's a very funny guy. Very, 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 very funny guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a good part of it. I'm glad they brought him back because he was missing for a few weeks. Of course, I have heard as well that actually former bodyguard to Del Rio, Brodus Clay, is actually on a winning streak. Now,
no way.
Where is he? Where is he? It's a good question. I just saw the headline and it said Brodus Clay winning streak. Now, it could be FCW, it could be Superstars, but Brodus Clay is on top apparently.
That's amazing.
So wherever he is, let's wish him the best. Let's hope he makes it back to
Skip
Mania.
Sheffield should be on his way back soon too.
Where is Skip Sheffield? You know, main eventer. Waiting to happen.
Yeah,
Sheffield, Cena should have happened a year ago. Shouldn't have.
We
didn't
were
need to wait.
Robbed.
So Cena, Del Rio. Have I predicted it? I suppose I would just say Del Rio go over, please. And just see Cena, it's never going to happen, but head towards the mid-card. Does Cena to turn heel need to head to the mid-card first? Does he need to maybe lose the popularity in the spotlight and then come back kind of pissed off, I was Super Cena and now I'm a heel?
I'd like to see Cena run with the US title, just to shut him up for a while.
Yeah, why not? I mean, Orton was pushed down there. Orton was pushed down. Now, obviously, Cena is in far more favour than Orton. Orton is somebody who has survived throughout all the bad behaviour, and I think these days a bit more of a company guy. From what I hear from shoot interviews and stuff like that, Orton is actually a sound guy.
I believe it.
Compared to someone like a Cena, who's apparently not the nicest of characters.
Yeah.
But what he said to Michael Tarver,
we were not down with that.
It was a disgrace.
We were not down with that.
He basically no-sold Tarver.
Yeah, with the injury as well, wasn't it? He called him out in his elbow. Mofo.
Absolutely. Zombies says winning streak against local jobbers on Superstars. And SP103 Ricardo is a quote Austin creepy looking something or other. 91 says WWE needs European title. And 91 says Ricardo Rodriguez deserves a push. Captain Charisma, Vince Russo needs another world title. And also saying Randy Orton's uncle. Not sure about that. We'd have to go alleged on that. Orby Times, welcome to you. We will follow you on the channel. I don't think we've ever had you in before, but we are here every Sunday, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, 9 GMT. So indeed, follow us on the channel, and you'll know when we're available.
Let's is that our Night of Champions predictions?
That is our Night of Champions predictions.
Let's open it up to Beaver there and see if he wants to talk about whatchamacallit, something.
Absolutely. I believe we called you there a while ago, Zombies, but we didn't get a reply back. Give us a buzz now and we will talk to you about Night of Champions 2011 as we continue this live broadcast here for another week on the trot. As I say, we've been doing well. It's been a while now since we had that maybe week or two off. We've been
consistently pushing out the goods for your viewing pleasure.
Exactly, and hopefully there is some bit of pleasure in actually watching. What were our predictions for the WHC? It's true, I suppose we could just talk Orton, Mark Henry. It's not on the list for some reason, so I'm expecting it might turn into a three-way Orton, Christian, Henry. I mean, that gets messier, but I'm going to say either way Orton is going to retain the belt. He's not losing it again, no matter who he's against, you know.
Yeah. Well, I would probably say maybe Orton to retain. If for some reason Henry gets another shot at it at the next pay-per-view, then maybe Henry takes it. But either way, I think a short run for Henry, like we said last week, would be welcomed. The guy deserves it. He's a bit of a workhorse.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he'd be, again, would that be... I believe there has been an African-American world heavyweight champion, an NWA, if you like, champion, but...
Booker was
Booker probably was.
Booker.
So maybe you could eventually get Mark Henry to the WWE Championship. Of course, he was on Raw, and he's probably going to be going back and forth now. So who knows?
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
Ron
Simmons. Oh yeah, somebody just said it as well.
Indeed, Zombies, if you'd like to mute us on the justin.tv feed and we'll have a chat with you. It's just we get a small bit of feedback on that. So, I believe we are joined by Zombies. You were with us last week. Hello to you. How are you? Don't know if you can hear us there, mate, but... hello? Can you hear us?
I really can't hear what you're saying on Skype.
Right, you can now hear us and we can hear you. So,
okay, hang on, I think I got you.
Right, how are things with you? What are your predictions for Night of Champions? Tell us what you think is going to happen. Cena, Del Rio. Right, how are things with you? What are your predictions for Night of Champions? Yeah. Tell us what you think is going to happen. Getting a lot of feedback on your side, unfortunately.
I really hope Del Rio wins because...
Yeah?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can indeed, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. So with Cena and Del Rio, I really hope Del Rio wins because, like I said last week, Cena is really annoying with all the championships. And with the Triple H thing, I do think McMahon will come out with his family, and maybe like maybe with Kevin Nash, and they'll probably just have a big street fight in the middle of the ring, you know.
It's possible. I can see it being one of those type of things where, you know, it's taken out to the crowd or whatever. Of course, we maybe thought it was going in the direction of Nash CM Punk, but this, of course, a much more competitive match. I mean, at least both these guys are, in a sense, able to work now. But with this, you know, do you think it will be Triple H coming out on top, or will he actually throw Punk a bone and let him go over in this case?
I really, I hope Triple H wins, you know, bring back some spark in the, like the old WCW, and not, he went in WCW, I mean, like WWF. I mean, like, he didn't win at WrestleMania, which really disappointed me and my brother. I know we was watching it at, like, 3 in the morning, and like when Triple H tombstoned him, we was like, oh my god, and we just like stood up and cheered. So I really hope he probably comes back into wrestling, which would be pretty cool.
You think the pressure's on now that Triple H is the CEO? He's got too much on his plate going into this one.
He's really only got on his plate the whole Del Rio situation. You know, obviously he can't get to that show, and the heat of TNA being a rising show and losing some of his superstars to TNA.
It's a good, yeah, it's a good point.
He's got to lock them down, doesn't he? I mean, thinking about how, we'll say, if someone like Punk actually went to TNA, I mean, we said it earlier, it would be the biggest thing for them. Of course, I'm sure guys like that, important to keep signed, and we saw how they talked about contract negotiations, whether that was kayfabe or, you know, just a load of work, we don't know, but I would say they were very, very hopeful that they'd keep him signed. So other thoughts then, moving on to Cena v Del Rio, because I know this Punk Triple H thing has been, well, it's more or less been the story for many weeks. Cena Del Rio seems like a good match on paper. Do you think it'll be an interesting main event? Yeah, can't seem to hear anything from you there. I think your mic was cutting out a little bit. We're getting a little bit here and there, but I think your mic might be cutting out. And we should have you now. Go ahead.
Okay, how's it?
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, how's it sound?
Perfection.
Amazing.
Awesome, I'm a genius. So, I was saying, like, with Del Rio's boring style of wrestling, and then you've got Cena's 5 moves of doom, will just all come together for no one cares.
I think you were of that opinion that it's a bit of a match that, well, I mean, are we looking forward to it? Few moves, and again, Del Rio, I've seen him in the ring. He's all character. The moves and stuff.
Yeah, we've said it in the past. Yeah.
Definitely something that we've talked about. So, I mean, 2 matches. Do you think it's going to be Orton Henry, or would you expect maybe Christian to end up in that mix at some point?
Sorry, what?
Do you think Christian will end up in the match Orton v Henry? Do you think that's what's going to happen, and maybe why it's seemingly not announced yet? No, we can't actually hear you. I think you're maybe cutting out a bit, or you're having trouble hearing us. What we'll do?
Okay,
yeah.
I'll be back. Yeah, I was saying that I think Christian will be forgot about after Night of Champions.
Right.
That's unfortunate for Christian.
It might be time to.
He'll lose his job probably.
He probably will. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Actually, he probably will, and he probably will be forgotten some by until he gets some mid-card title. Christian would be a good IC champ, I think.
Yeah,
You know,
excellent IC.
him and Cody in a little feud now. There you go. That's a nice little
100%. That's the feud.
That's 2 months programming right there.
You know, put people in the bracket that they should be in. And I would even go so far as saying Orton has been a good world champion at times, but what an incredible permanent mid-card guy he'd be. Maybe with a US championship. Give him the IC for a while. The IC is still and can be a relevant belt. It still has the legacy. I suppose, I know earlier on you were asking about TNA Zombies, so tell us your thoughts on that, because we did speak about it at length, but the whole Sting Flair thing, would it draw you in as a viewer ever?
No. I actually said in chat that it would be more slow than Big Show versus Mark Henry. And Sting will put the main action in there, but Flair will probably just do his probably just throw some punches here and there.
Yeah. The backflip, falling over the back. I mean,
The oversold flip. Have you been keeping track of this this story with Flair and his financial situation?
I think Flair's just coming back for a bit of money and to add some spark to the show, to be honest, because I read on some site that the ratings of last week was really low compared to the one before.
Yeah.
I can see how that would happen at the moment. Yeah.
People are voting with their remote controls now. You know, to ask you, did you ever watch it week on week? Did you ever watch it week on week? Were you ever a weekly Impact viewer?
Yeah, I do watch every week. So my dad came in and was like, "Shut up, I'm trying to sleep."
No worries, yeah. So what was it that eventually stopped you watching? You know, what was it that stopped you being a fan, if you like?
It just got boring every once in a while.
Yeah, it did. It certainly did. There was just so many old guys coming back, as everyone has said. But to give you a chance to say anything else that was on your mind tonight, we're going to do a sort of a quick Skype tonight and try and get one or two others on. I know Phil will be joining us at some point. He said hit me up at some point there, and anyone else, including Sonic, if you'd like to come on. So anything else, Zombies, while we have you?
Nothing much, but yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties. My mic is old as crap.
No worries, we
It's
have
not
the
a
same
problem.
problems here. But listen, you're always welcome every week, and like I say, Skype is a big part of it for us. And indeed, thanks once again for being there. We'll hopefully speak to you again soon.
Okay, thanks. See ya.
Thanks
Take
a
it easy.
million. Thanks there to Zombies in the Justin.tv chat room.
Awesome.
We are going to go straight through to Phil. I believe Phil, and I think tonight's the night to call Amazing Davey. Amazing Davey's online.
Right, sweet.
And we've only spoken to him once, but let's give Phil a buzz and see what Phil is up to. I know it's been a week or two since we've had a chat with Phil, and I know he's probably got opinions as well on some of our topics here tonight. Of course, TNA, a big topic as we started off earlier tonight when we gave our thoughts on Sting v Ric Flair. Now, it seems nostalgic to begin with. It seems like something that would make you, well, as a nostalgia fan, want to tune in. But, you know, is it something that's going to draw you, Phil? And hello to you as well.
How's life been treating you?
Not too bad.
We're good. We're coming to the end of the summer. We've had pretty
it's
awful.
A little disappointing, but at least over here on this continent, we've got football coming up. They managed to work through their problems, so that's all good.
That's true. Were you affected at all by the storms over there, Phil?
No. Well, actually, I can't say that completely. I was in Nova Scotia last week and had a flight delayed, even though the weather wasn't so terrible. So kind of got a little bit of the tail end, but I guess the byproduct of that was an extra day off of work, so I can't complain. So
Lovely.
Nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, we were under the impression, you know, the entire East Coast had been blown away, you know, and that's the kind of idea we got here on the news. But
Media frenzy.
Yeah, I did kind of think
it was definitely overplayed. It was overhyped, just like Cena or Triple H. They on one hand, I understand why they have to do it now, and when you're talking about public safety and all that sort of thing. I think Katrina kind of changed the way that they play it up, and not to undermine, because I know people lost their lives and it was pretty serious. But
they have to take responsibility.
It is what it was. It was a hurricane. It hit the coast. It wasn't the be all nor the end all, but there we have it.
Absolutely. Now I want to go straight as a nostalgia fan, as a fan of classic WWF. What about this stipulation? If Sting beats Ric Flair, he will face Hulk Hogan. I mean, this is back to our childhood.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, first and foremost, so this is because I haven't been watching TNA. But, you know, I guess the question I have with that is it an undercard angle, or is this taking up the majority of their TV? You know, that's what it comes down to for me. If this is a mid-card angle and it is just purely for some nostalgia, then I have no issue with it. But knowing those clowns, it probably is taking up the majority of their TV, is it not?
Well, you know, that's what I'm going to find out next week.
We've been on
I'll tell you, I read this story and I decided, right, I'm gonna catch the bill to this, and I'm gonna see how they do it. And I've got questions just as you've asked there. You know, how are they going to actually play it? I can't imagine it would be the main event. I mean, who's the champion now?
You said I know, I've been on hiatus too.
Know.
Maybe the chat room would clear it up.
Who is the TNA World Champion? That might answer some questions.
That's a heck of a question. So
yeah, I mean, everybody's in the same boat. Nobody knows, and I think
if they wanted to make it a real world angle, especially with the state of where the economy is, and the fact that both Flair and Sting are approaching old age security, whoever wins this match actually gets to draw from Social Security, because otherwise the safety net's not going to be there for everybody. That's an angle I would turn in to see.
Yeah,
that's true.
The demise of it might be even funnier.
Yeah, well, these Stinkins can kind of move around the last time I saw him, but as far as the other two go, I don't know if Hogan can even go more than 5 minutes these days.
Yeah.
Those legs are in bad shape, in fairness, aren't they?
Definitely, and I think it's going to be funny to see how it plays out. And that's one subject at least that can be talked about regarding TNA. And somebody told us that actually Kurt Angle is the champion right now. I had no clue.
Angle's a champ, wow.
Yeah, which is ironic that he actually made more news this week from spouting off about being angry, where he was on the WWE's top 50 superstars of all time, which also is funny because didn't that DVD come out last year?
It did.
So maybe Kurt's a little bit behind on the times, just like TNA. Maybe hey, maybe we just figured it out. Maybe that whole promotion thinks it's still 1989.
I think they could be right. You're right in saying that. So I did see that he complained about the 50 superstars. He's actually he was talking about the DVD, was it? That one from ages.
Yeah, I think so.
The ranking, yeah.
Which was a joke anyway, because Hogan was 23 or 24. So at that point, like, realistically, fine. I know they want to get whoever's over now. Like, they made Michaels number one, and but if Hogan's not in the top 5, it's a joke anyway. Yeah. So I don't even know why Angle would be giving credence to it. Maybe he got trapped in an interview. It turned into something more than what it actually was. I don't know. But
I can tell you.
Yeah, it's funny that even TNA is in such a shape that they get more headlines when their champion talks about WWE.
Angle seems to go off on one, I think, when he's had a few beers and takes to the Twitter, or probably goes Googling his name or something like that, knowing him. That would be my guess, and probably discovered where he was ranked and had a rant about it.
It's funny how out of date he was with that, and I hadn't made that connection at all. But it's dangerous, isn't it, getting on that Twitter? And Angle has been known to do it. He talked about Punk a few weeks ago.
He's always at it. He was banging on about Randy Orton nicking his moves as well there not too long ago.
Now, what a crazy story, Phil, that of course erupted earlier on this week when Matt Hardy posted a video, which we've not yet talked about, where he was saying goodbye to the fans. Now, your first reactions to that, another Matt Hardy work, or do you think there was any bit of seriousness in that?
I've always thought Matt Hardy is a goof. and I don't want that to come across the wrong way. I've never been a big fan of either of the two of them, but I understood the draw at least. And with Jeff being an acrobat and doing all that kind of thing, I've always just thought that Matt Hardy is one of those guys that if you talk to him, you just want to slap him. Like, even when he just takes everything and overplays it, like everything that went on with Lita. He sounds like a 16-year-old kid. Like, he just, everything is so, he's a drama queen. Basically, he is a drama queen to me, and this doesn't surprise me any more than any of the rest of it. The only thing that I want to know is why are they giving him publicity, considering he's never been a draw other than with the Hardy Boys. So, he had some use in singles, but he's basically burnt all those bridges. Terrific. Where is he going to go next? Why are they even... I legitimately hope that this isn't kind of a plea for help, and the next thing we are going to find is that they find him hanging in his garage. But other than that, why is it even getting run? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he is exactly all of those things. Like you said, he just doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut, to be honest with you. And there's only so far you can kind of take those out of wrestling worked angles. And I think maybe it was just a step too far with this one, if anything. I mean, it even came to the point where I think Jeff's wife said, we just had a cop call to our house telling us about, or asking, did they know, or I don't know what the full circumstance was, but basically, obviously, she wasn't too happy with it either. So when you're causing that kind of anxiety on people, you got to take a look or a step back and say, hold on a second, what the hell?
As she put it, Matt Hardy brand is working the internet when the cops call to your house at 2 a.m. asking is he okay.
There you go, that's the call.
How he does it, but of course he gets YouTube ad revenue from all those videos, so he's making some stuff in terms of cash, a little bit from these videos,
That's good, because he's not going to be booking any dates. So.
And no one's going to be booking him, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, what promoter would take the risk, actually? It's true. Who would even bother? But I think, actually, you would probably get more vocal fans giving out about him at an independent show if you brought him on. Maybe, the chance of Matt Hardy and things like that, which I think is genius, that Matt Hardy nickname. But, why suddenly Matt? I mean, it was all Jeff for a while. Of course, Matt had his time on YouTube giving out, and it never got as really, I think, controversial as this, where people were worked into thinking maybe he was, in a sense, trying to commit suicide, which, wow, I mean, you don't want to put a message like that out on YouTube, anywhere. But, as you say, he's going to struggle to come back off this, or is he a genius? Because he had that period where he came from, if you like, being the released WWE star, making all those videos, and, well, he kind of bounced back. He went to TNA, but maybe anyone would agree.
Or is he going to be wrestling's version of Charlie Sheen?
This is it.
I think you're probably closer to the truth with that one, yeah. I think Jeff, he's had his issues, but I think he's a decent enough bloke. I know we've had a couple of encounters with him over the years, and he's always been, fairly spot on, friendly to fans and very approachable. I think he's a genuine good guy that just has bad habits. Matt, on the other hand, like you say, I think he's probably just a goof that is some way jealous of his brother's success, I think, and needs to feel that he has to prove himself constantly, that he is up there at Jeff's level, and sometimes the routes he takes to try prove himself are just a bit too much, and we've seen it over and over again when he left the E and he changed his hairstyle up because he had that he wasn't silenced by the E, and he had an audience that would pay attention to what he was going to say now that he was free from their umbrella. And
Jeff turned into the Ultimate Warrior, which was his.
Yeah, that was the other side of it. But he could reinvent himself, you know what I mean? And he had a chance to really step it up, and he did for 5 minutes. But it was still, no matter what way you look at it, and he still was Matt Hardy, unfortunately. So you win, you lose.
Hold that thought. Be right back.
Not a problem, and we will continue to speak with Phil here. Let's talk to you in the chat room, and we have Zombies, who says he looked at WWE 12 and Edge is down as a legend, actually, which is quite funny to think about it at this point in his career. Maybe that means it's over, but it was noted that Edge is going to be back on TV, I think it's next week, in conjunction with this TV appearance on Haven, I think the show was called, on Sci-Fi. So he's basically promoting his acting career now. That's actually where we mentioned he could go. In a video quite a while back, I think when people rumoured that Edge could be about ready to pack it up and to give it a rest. Well, it looks like film and TV is where Edge is headed. Captain Charisma, I stopped caring for Edge when he won his first WWE title, and Sonic Akuma also reminding us that Kurt Angle is the title holder. Had no idea.
There you go.
You
So
know.
did he win it?
It's kind of funny that you do mention WWE 12, and I thought about this week too. As it looks like the brand split is starting to dissolve. Did they foreshadow that? Did they give us, because that game's always been called SmackDown versus Raw. Now all of a sudden, why is it WWE 12?
Interesting.
So it's, as they're putting the Super Show together, maybe it is the end of the brand split.
Good observation. Very good.
Yeah, that's actually perfect. I mean, I'd never thought about like that, but further thoughts on a brand split. What do you think it added? What will it gain if the brand split goes? Do you think it was ever useful?
Well, I think maybe there's... at first, I wasn't a huge fan of it, and I've also never been a big fan of SmackDown in general. I mean, going way back, I've always thought that... because that was a response to when WCW came out with Thunder. I always thought it was overexposure, but at the same time, I understand why they did it. I think there's something bigger at play going on here, and I think there's a little bit of a mix between reality and work in Triple H taking over. I also think, and this kind of hit me as well, everybody always wondered, why did CM Punk come out wearing Austin's T-shirt when he first gave his big speech there? But wasn't it just a couple weeks before that the news came around that Austin was pushing for Punk? And so maybe some of that old school network, maybe The Rock is back, Triple H is back, maybe Vince has really turned over the reins and he's starting to listen. Triple H is calling on the guys for the ideas and saying, who do you think is really going to get over? And Austin says, I think CM Punk is the way to go. I think that we didn't have the brand split back in the day. It was guys vying for the one title. We've watered down the product. Yeah, we've got more TV time to fill, but let's do that. We saw a little bit in the past week some matches that are going longer, which I've said before is build the story, get the guys behind instead of trying to force so many people into one spot. Work on a little bit more continuity, and in your shows, have the matches go a little bit longer. Make people care about it.
It sounds logical, yeah.
Yep, it's. I think we've seen the changes over the past couple of weeks, and so much more with the tag team division, especially. I think can't stress that one enough. That it's going to really take off. I'm sure.
I believe Triple H, if anybody in the company knows what our demographic wants, maybe all demographics, it's got to be him. I mean, he's aware of what sucks and what doesn't, and anyone behind the scenes is going to see an angle that sucks and call it as such. But Triple H, you'd presume he understands where we need to go, but of course he's got to think about other age groups as well, and maybe that's where sometimes I might see something and a younger demographic would like it, I maybe won't. But as you say, they may be striking a balance now. They may be trying to bring it back to the golden age. And as you say, people like Rock involved, in a match at Mania, booked a year in advance. I never thought I'd see that happen.
I agree. They've got to realize that, yes, people do have a smaller attention span, but part of that's because, and I've said this before, they've trained them for that. When all you train people is that it's a 4-minute match, and then you have to fill more programming every week, why should I get excited? Oh, we've got a rematch between CM Punk and John Cena. Okay, terrific. well, we know it's only going to go 12 minutes. We know it's gotten so formulaic that you can even look at your watch and see when it starts, and relative to the top of the hour, you know the show's going to run 7 minutes over.
Yeah.
So if it's over here, if it's 10:53, 7, okay, you know the match is going to be 14 minutes, and you know that at the 13-minute mark, the finish is going to be whatever it is, probably a schmoz, and then the last minute will be for the gyrations and whatever, the celebration at the end of it. It's become so formulaic, it's ridiculous that they need to move away from that, I think.
I've got it so down to a T that literally I can do like bell rings, and then if I'm fast forwarding through a SmackDown, you're on the 3 count. 4 minutes 20 seconds.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've got it down to a T. Yeah.
The DVR is fast forwarding. You press play, and you're so attuned. You know when it's going to end. But you mentioned there about the top of the hour syndrome, and that has been a big factor for me. Maybe during pay-per-views, and you know, with a Raw as well. You see it hitting the top of the hour. Triple H comes out. You know, and it's almost like just section it a bit differently, where things happen at different times. But I suppose the way the live TV works, it just ends up happening like that sometimes. Zombies in the chat room says Goldberg. A lot of people actually calling for Goldberg to come back. I suppose it does tie into bringing back old faces, if you like, and maybe we want to move towards new faces. But I mean, I'd ask you that, Phil. Do you want to see, we'll say, a product now, be it WWE or TNA, that didn't have any legends, that maybe was fully focused on new guys? I mean, we all talk about how maybe that's where we'd probably like to see it go, but do you think that would actually work and keep us interested, we'll say, without the nostalgic connections anymore?
No. You need a mix of that, but it's funny to me, and it kind of points it out how the difference between a TNA and a WWE is, and I don't know where it's going to go with Nash, and you know, he's already set a record, injuring himself apparently in between where the match was announced and the end of the show. But regardless, you did mark out a little bit, because the fact of the matter is the WWE will bring him in. They will use him in an angle, and even if it's getting a little bit or a lot of TV time, he's still not being pushed at the top of the card. So it adds value, especially if you take a guy like that, and knock on wood, I know you guys asked if you think that will Triple H put CM Punk over. I think he has to, but that being said, if he doesn't, I will be very disappointed in that. But that, building it up, making convincing storyline, making it compelling TV, and then having the new guy who the crowd actually wants to see go over. It's not, CM Punk's not being forced on people. The people have said, we want to see this guy. We find him entertaining. And it's finding that right mix. It's not just looking at it and playing on the backstage politics and Triple H saying, oh, well, I'll put this guy over. And then if he doesn't go, if the crowd doesn't get behind it looking and say, well, that's why I don't job to anybody, because that's happened in the past. It's more recognizing, striking when the iron is hot, and knowing that the crowd wants this guy. They're right there. They're right with the guy, but he still needs that opponent to go over. And if he goes over Triple H kind of fades off into the sunset. Perfect. You created a new star. Triple H doesn't lose credibility. But if you're trying to build guys, and let's say CM Punk's in an angle, let's just picking a name off the top of my head. Let's say Jack Swagger's right near the top of there. One of those two guys losing could actually hurt themselves. They could lose credibility. Whereas now CM Punk would say, yeah, I beat Triple H, move on to the next one. And then maybe if he jobs to another guy, that gives that guy credibility. So it's about that balance. You need a mix of it.
Yeah.
It's true. Somebody like Triple H, as you said there, never ever loses that credibility, does he? I mean, he can lose to anyone, go away, come back. But I want to go back. You mentioned a point there about how, you know, the fans have chosen Punk, and it relates actually to when we spoke to Jerry Jarrett, because he said that exact point. Not to name drop, but I just did. But I wanted to go back to where he said that essentially the booker doesn't have a choice whether or not to book you. If the fans put you over, if they are what are gaining the ratings, then he has no choice. He has to.
That's it. He is the game, you know?
He is, and will he?
The crowd still plunks down their dollars, and that's what it comes to. And I think I had a discussion with a friend of mine recently who hasn't watched wrestling in a long time, and I tried to explain to him, and he was talking about, as people are apt to do, just throw out some of the old names and how things have changed. And I think a lot of what has changed is that when you move away from the territory system, I know that's been gone for a long time, but back in the day, like let's take Mark Henry and the push that he's on right now. Let's say that this was back before TV became real big, or before it became so formulaic. Because that's even dating myself beyond my own age. But let's say it's the mid '80s or even pushing into the '90s, when you had a guy who could be a monster. So he would come in, you would build him up, and he would run roughshod over everybody until finally you fed him to the babyface, if it was a Hogan, whoever it was, and then he beat him. So that guy then would disappear. He could still go somewhere and make money and still draw on other parts and then rebuild him and show up a little bit later. But now, where everything is on TV, the guys are tied into their contract. They can't disappear and still make a living at it. They have to stay on that roster. So take a Mark Henry, who they're building up right now, but then eventually, let's say Cena goes over, Orton goes over, he loses the credibility. He's no longer a monster, and then people just can't take him seriously again, because he's still going to be around. And then they probably don't want to give him the time off to have him just disappear. So you've always got to be refreshing it, but it's tough that way, because it's tough to keep that character fresh and keep them built up, because they're forced down your throat. They're in your face all the time. I don't know if part of it is people have discussed in the past where they think that maybe the WWE should have an off season. I don't know if that's the answer, but I think maybe they would move their product further if they would draw more money by paying guys to stay home in increments, or if they developed a little minor league territory where the guy could go, stay working, stay active, but keep him off of TV for a little bit, then bring him back in a couple months again when people have almost forgotten about him, and then rebuild the character again. I don't know.
Well, it's true, because they have so many opportunities to have them participate in outdoor activities and, tying in with charities. They could find stuff for them to do. And an idea of an off season, again, if I had 3 months off to not watch wrestling and there was nothing on, it might very well help my want to watch it as well. Of course, it is a 365 days a year touring business as well. I suppose that's what affects it, doesn't it?
It just puzzles me after this many years how the office doesn't realise that they need to have an off season for talent, where if somebody, they don't have anything for him creatively as opposed to future endeavouring, as they like to call him these days, or she, whoever it may be, let them take some time out or go down to FCW, or like you say, do the charity stuff, or just pull them off TV and give them a paycheck and let someone else, shine in their place and rebuild them, change their character up, like many of the best people who have done it in the past that have been stuck in mid-card hell and come back with different music. Big Zeke, he's a big example of it, and there's many more over the years that you've seen, change the hair, give them a jacket, change the music, and they're a new person with a new gimmick straight away. It just puzzles me like they don't put as opposed to having the whole roster constantly working house shows, trying to squeeze them onto a Raw. Like Tyler Rex has been banging out about it, how he hasn't had a place on Raw since he's joined the Raw roster. And he's dead right, because, if I was Tyler Rex, I'd be pretty pissed about it.
Was he on Twitter saying that, or where did he...
I don't know, he was banging on about something.
I know, because I saw it in the headlines, Tyler Rex. There are a lot of guys let down, I suppose, in the kind of the programming, that don't get the coverage probably that they should. Phil, we've had you on long enough. Again, fascinating and always insightful.
Great.
We appreciate it very much having you on.
Not a problem. We'll see moving forward. It might be a little bit of a struggle on Sunday afternoons with the NFL, but I'll
no worries.
Try and make my way in where I can. So,
thank you very much.
Good work, and let's keep growing it. So,
Cheers.
Cheers, Phil. Thank you so
Appreciate
much. That's Phil, of course, a regular caller.
Always
And,
good.
always good to hear from Phil. Certainly always says things that, makes me think about the product in a different way. And again, that's what it's all about here, the sharing of opinion.
And no better man. He's a
thoughts.
good guy. A good guy.
Absolutely. Now, Zombies in the chat room says HBK will never return and he won't go to TNA because of his passion for the WWE. Captain Charisma, bring Kendrick back and put him in a match with Bryan and HBK at Mania. Teacher versus student versus student. Zombies says WWE needs to get some of the great TNA talent like Crimson, Matt Morgan and Bully Ray. I actually hear a lot of talk about Crimson. People are talking about him.
He's the tall dude, yeah?
Yeah, the Amazing Red brother. The guy who's, well, in a sense, a thinner Batista, maybe.
It's just the size thing, is it? I don't know. Is he a good worker? Possibly.
You'd wonder. You would wonder at all.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think Crimson, he's somewhat proved himself. And like I say, people have been beginning to talk about him a little bit. So I think that's got to be a positive sign. Now, joining us on the line, as always, and great to have him on video, is none other than Sonic Akuma. How are you tonight? Can you hear us, Sonic? Are you there? We can hear you slightly lower. Can you just say something there? Yeah, we have you. Not a bother, we have you. So we have you turned up nice and loud. So Sonic, what's on your mind? I know we talked a lot about TNA. You're a regular TNA viewer. Sting v Ric Flair. Your thoughts on that?
I mostly like the nostalgia factor.
Yes, it is. It's total nostalgia. We actually have you a bit low. I'm going to try and turn you up a bit there. Mic is a little bit low. But are you looking forward to this? Do you think it'll end up being Sting v Hogan?
If Sting v Hogan is going to happen, it's going to happen on No Surrender next Sunday.
Yeah.
You think it needs to happen, Sonic?
See what plays out on the storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the storyline's important.
It is. It will be. I suppose it depends what they give us. You've been following it pretty consistently then, TNA. That's right, Sonic.
That's the truth. And I'm wondering about when Ring of Honor is going to be back on TV.
Yeah, Ring of Honor. When's it coming back?
I think it's sometime soon, actually. I'm not too sure. Can you vouch for Crimson for us?
Yeah.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm giving it a thumbs up because Ring of Honor is the much needed wrestling back on the already air stations.
It'll be interesting to see what they can bring to the table with their new deal and their new production. Fingers crossed it might take the place of Impact for us on a weekly basis.
I would love that to be the case. Someone like Ring of Honor suddenly becoming that second federation, that second option to watch something completely different. Because I don't know about you, Sonic, but I remember finding the difference between WWE and TNA being a huge thing. I mean, when you had, for example, maybe you were sick of Batista being the World Heavyweight Champion, you could turn over to TNA and watch something completely different. What about it, for example, keeps you watching now? What do you like on the program?
On which company?
TNA, actually.
The thing, what I was discussing earlier on the viewer count was a lot higher than it was 2 years ago before Hogan and Bischoff joined the fold.
Yeah.
It it was a bit seedy last year with but it made up with having Jeff Hardy.
Yeah. Jeff making his way back to the company.
So tell us about Hardy's return then, since we haven't been paying attention. How's it gone down? Has he been accepted back by the fans, or have they booed him for his actions at that pay-per-view with Sting?
This coming Thursday.
Oh, it's this Thursday he comes back. Oh right, I thought he actually had made his return.
But it's probably played. It's probably happened, hasn't it? I probably read
recorded,
spoilers
yeah.
somewhere. So I'm not too worried about the spoilers anymore, I suppose, not watching it. But I think, Sonic, you're going to have to be our official TNA correspondent while we try and watch again. But do you think this Sting v Flair thing will be worth watching?
Absolutely.
What are they actually doing to set this up?
They're blowing it up or tying up all loose ends about it. But Flair wanted to show that he wants one last match. Sting, you know how Sting plays him out now.
That Ric Flair, I guess, man. You know, with and so is Flair actually back on TV now, or is he yet to return?
He's back on TV.
He's back on TV.
Cool.
That sounds interesting enough. Maybe it is time to check back in.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think, and I've been guilty of this, the kind of lack of respect for Flair thing has probably gone a bit too far now. I mean, it's Ric Flair. And I know people think he maybe cheapened his legacy somewhat, but I think they probably now at least have a chance of going, right, let's show you what he was like back in the day. I know he's not the same guy, but here's a feud that would have happened in WCW, I'm sure, many a time. And let's see if we can sort of re-establish him, in a sense, as that wrestling legend, because TNA are responsible for actually cheapening the guy's legacy.
I believe that too.
They are, aren't they?
I believe that too. Especially with the help. Well, I won't say fully responsible. I mean, he's, fond of spending money for sure, and he, has had more than one dodgy relationship that he's had to cater for over the years, financially. So maybe combined, I'd probably say combined, they're responsible for his state at the moment.
It's true, because you imagine if you were a guy booking TNA. And you had Flair, you had Hogan, you had Bischoff, you had all these characters.
You'd probably do it, wouldn't you?
You have all the, as I say, like they used to say, McMahon had a toy chest, and he had favourite toys, whether it be Hogan or Ultimate Warrior. But it's like, if you had that toy chest with Hogan, Flair, everybody like that, Hardys and stuff like that, I mean, you would probably go crazy. You'd go nuts and go, we're going to book Hogan, we're going to do Flair with this. You could do so much, but then it adds up to overbooking, doesn't it?
It's just unfortunate that we've seen it a million times. I think that's the problem.
Not
For those who
exactly overbooking, but it's the circumstances or timing or where the hell I'm going with this.
Sometimes you forget, don't you, that you've just watched it for so long and so many years, and that for a lot of the kids, they might have never seen Sting and Flair, or Flair and Hogan, or Sting and Hogan. They just wouldn't have seen that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
on that side, like we said earlier, you do have to appeal to the demographic, and if the demographic is by and large kids, then it has to be done, I'm sure.
See, like say TNA been on a network known for showing testosterone TV for the past 5 years.
That's true. It is like a male demographic channel, Spike, and of course they're on there with things like UFC and various other stuff that probably would be for a male audience. It's true, but I suppose it's been hard for some people to hold on to TNA, despite all of the attempts that they've made to bring superstars back.
A lot of the core audience turn their back on the promotion. And the casual audience starting to fill that.
That's That's true. That is true. Yeah. I think maybe too much of it maybe was, or maybe some bad bookings, or else maybe the ears just got some better stuff going on at the moment. It's a bit more interesting. It's probably horses for courses. What you like in the product will keep you watching.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's true. Now, Sonic, again, we're going to talk Night of Champions 2011. We want to hear your two predictions for these two matches so far announced. Still waiting on that Orton-Mark Henry thing, which they seemingly haven't talked about yet. But, again, just to ask you, who do you think is going to win between Cena and Del Rio at that pay-per-view?
Because he's back on top of the power rankings.
Cena, yeah.
Forget about those power rankings at times, didn't you?
Yeah, the power rankings, I mean, I have to say, we must start looking at those. I know they do mean something. And then, of course, Sonic, on the Punk Triple H, a feud that has certainly evolved in the past weeks, and now we have that announcement. The match will go ahead at Knock 2011. Punk Triple H, is Triple H going to put Punk over here?
The match is too close to call, but Punk, the people want to see CM Punk, the hardcore fans, the fans who really in these circuits going to turn out even more for CM Punk.
That's true. That is true.
Sonic, we hope to see you at Night of Champions. Are you going to be in with us in the room? Hopefully, yes. And indeed, if you want to come on with us throughout that night for commentary, we welcome you without a doubt to be on there that coming Sunday, which is a few weeks' time.
Okay, now is no surrender.
No surrender. You have to give us your predictions on that next week,
Absolutely, yeah.
if you would like to.
Hopefully, Sonic, next week we might have maybe watched TNA. We'll check out TNA and we'll have more to talk about, because I know you're going to be the correspondent going forward. When we slip out of viewing, we know we can count on yourself to keep us up to date. Sonic, we're going to finish up for the night. Again, thank you for being on here, just like Phil and Zombies before you. Indeed, very good to speak with you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, and good night to Sonic. And once again, Sonic, a regular caller. Always nice to hear from Sonic. Of course, Sonic also jumps on the video, which I know a lot of people would prefer not to be on webcam, but we can put you on webcam if you'd like to be on there. And it certainly is interesting to put a face to the voice and the name, in a sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good guy, Sonic. TNA correspondent, I think, should be the official title going forward.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Appreciate that.
TNA correspondent going forward. I want to say hi to the main event. It's been a while since we've seen you in here. I know we've had a room change, and this is now our official justin.tv/WrestleDope Radio room. You'll find us here live Sundays 9 GMT, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Come back and join us again. Anybody who hasn't followed us in this room, then please do so. Click follow, and we will speak with you again soon. Filibuster saying, I think Nash screws Triple H. More storylines can come out of that. I was kind of going along those lines as well. I think that could be a good call. Captain Charisma, Cena will be a 40-time world champion by 2016. And main events, pretty sure Yoshitatsu is going to end the streak. I think that's where we will end this streak, and that is our unbroken streak, actually.
Unbroken streak, yeah.
Of being here each and every week. We've done that now for a while, so it's good. We're going to keep it up, and hopefully we'll be here next Sunday talking about more wrestling topics.
Indeed we will. Thanks folks for coming in on your Sunday evenings, mornings, afternoons, whatever it is, wherever you are. Keeping it dope, keeping it rock. We appreciate it. See you next Sunday. Thanks a million.